Hello and welcome to your More Than Pink Walk Mission Pillar Orientation. We are thrilled to have you as a volunteer. Thank you for joining the One Komen community. You are helping to make an impact. During this orientation, you will learn all about the More Than Pink Walk's mission pillars, your role as a mission pillar volunteer, and you will leave this orientation fully equipped to volunteer on More Than Pink Walk Day. But first, another thank you. Susan G. Komen could not fulfill its life-saving mission without passionate supporters like you. We appreciate your time, and we know that our participants will too. You have joined this orientation because you volunteered for your community's upcoming More Than Pink Walk. The More Than Pink Walk series, which takes place in communities all across the country, is Komen's signature event that unites all those that want to help end breast cancer. On event day, we celebrate our survivors, we honor our loved ones, and we walk as one to raise funds for breast cancer research and services. An important element of the More Than Pink Walk is to connect participants to the mission. And one way that we do this is through engaging them in our 4 mission pillars and the work that we do. You can see these 4 pillars here. Research that provides new hope through life-saving discoveries, funding breakthroughs that give more time to everyone in their fight against breast cancer. Care that ensures all people have access to quality screening, diagnosis, and treatment for breast cancer, offering patient support, treatment assistance, even childcare and transportation services. Community to support everyone, no matter where they are in their breast cancer journey, providing a safe place to share, grieve, support, and find the strength to move forward. And finally, action, through advocacy, fighting for government funding of critical patient support and research. We fight for the rights of patients among policymakers and compassionate care for everyone. We incorporate the mission pillars into the More Than Pink Walk with a designated area that participants can learn more about each pillar and engage with a Komen volunteer. When all set up, this is what the pillar tents will look like, always placed in this order and set up in this way. There are a few components of all tents that we should be familiar with. First, each pillar has its own custom 10 by 10 tent with a branded valiance in that pillar's designated color. Each pillar tent has a 12-foot feather banner that should be placed near the tent and a branded back wall that tells the story of that pillar. Extending out from each pillar tent, there are activities that show what Susan G. Komen does with the money raised at More Than Pink Walk. The key to the success of the pillar activations is having energized and dynamic volunteers to help participants understand each activity. The pillar activations on their own will not engage participants without some human coaching and interaction. If I had to simplify the best practice activation for each of the pillar tents, I'd use the words interact, inform, impact, and include. The goal of each pillar tent is to make it interactive, from the volunteer to the message and materials, and then we want each person to be informed by the work being done, to connect to the impact of the work, and include them in a way where they can see themselves in each pillar. Now let's take a look at each pillar tent. The first pillar is research. The purpose of this area is to educate and share information about the research we fund and hope it can provide. It features 2 experiential components, a full-body mannequin on display to illustrate all the locations where metastatic breast cancer can spread, and signage highlighting microscopic slides of a cell from a healthy breast and one from a cancerous cell. It also includes the research and action sign, how we fund research, researchers page from Komen.org, and breast cancer breakthrough sign up. In this tent, we want to invite participants to view the mannequin, read the back wall, and answer questions regarding research. This tent is generally staffed by a medical professional or researcher. The next pillar is care. The purpose of this activation is to share how we help ensure that all people with breast cancer have equal access to care. This area contains an interactive activity for our attendees. In this tent, volunteers will set up the Komen match game, which features questions and answers that provide the participant with more knowledge about the care Susan G. Komen provides with the dollars they are raising at the More Than Pink Walk. You will find a whiteboard and magnetic questions and answers, as well as an answer key. In this tent, volunteers will encourage participants to stop by and play the game, helping them and cheering them on when they get the right answer. Also in the care tent is a photo opportunity. Volunteers will find several of these cutout hearts, each with a different person to care for. In addition to encouraging folks to play the match game, volunteers should share the photo hearts with each person that visits and offer to take a photo of them. Our next pillar is community. In this area, we want our walkers to feel that they are part of a larger community, regardless of where they might be in their fight against breast cancer. We invite participants to share their stories of how they've been supported by Susan G. Komen, invite them to sign up to become a Komen volunteer, and to learn about other Komen events taking place in their community. The activity in this tent is a community map that will be hung on the back wall of the tent. The map represents where the event takes place, and volunteers should invite attendees to place a sticker on the community and map, which will indicate where they live in the market's coverage area. Our final pillar is the action pillar. This invites walkers to take action through advocacy, fighting for government funding of critical patient support, and research. They can fight for the rights of patients among policymakers and compassionate care for everyone. Volunteers should invite participants to scan a QR code that will defend the Breast Cancer Bill of Rights. Volunteers can also have participants sign up to be an advocacy insider, learn about Komen's Stand for Her patient services, and share resources on Komen's Health Equity Initiative. So now that we have an understanding of the mission pillars, what is your role as a mission pillar volunteer? Prior to event day, you will receive an activation guide that writes out all information covered in this orientation, and it will include photos, instructions for setup, speaking points, and inventory lists for each tent. They will look like this and this. So please take the time to review these in advance of walk day. Your role is to set your tent up or confirm it is set up correctly upon arrival. Ensure that all supplies are out and set up in the right place. Next, you'll want to make sure each tent is fully staffed. Generally, at least 2 volunteers should be assigned to each tent. If you are in need of volunteers, your role as a volunteer is to alert the volunteer lead of your need. As the volunteer lead sends you volunteers, you'll want to review with them the purpose of the tent and what they should be doing while volunteering in that tent. Once participants begin arriving, encourage them to visit the tents, greet each person, answer questions, and explain the activities. And finally, make sure you have fun. Throughout the morning, be sure to keep an eye on supplies and replenish as needed. Finally, at the end of the event, help staff and volunteers to break down the tents and pack up the supplies. In terms of next steps, be sure to check your email for instructions and your activation guide. Be sure to review this and reach out in advance if you have any questions about your role. On the morning of the event, arrive at the designated time and location and visit your volunteer tent to check in and pick up your volunteer t-shirt. Then head over to the tent to get set up. Once the event opens, engage with participants, support volunteers, and have fun. I hope this orientation was helpful, and if there's anything you forget, it's all in the activation guide that you will receive soon. Thank you, and we look forward to sharing this meaningful day with you.